you've always dreamed of living on a boat. Maybe you're thinking of buying a boat. So I've lived on a boat for 4 years of my life. I've lived a year at sea, 2 years tied up to a dock, including through the winter, so we had to find ways to heat the boat, and 1 year anchored on a river and a little bit of cruising between places. If you like outdoor living, living on a boat is definitely right up your alley, because living on a boat is kind of like camping, but with more creature comfort. When you're on a boat, you know what the sun is doing, you know what the moon is doing, you know when it's a full moon and when it's a half moon and when it's a no moon. It's just so beautiful. You definitely know about the tides each day. You're very much in tune with when is high tide, when is low tide, because that tends to affect your access to your boat or just what's happening around you. Living on a boat makes you more of a minimalist. You have to have less stuff because there's not as much space on a boat, and therefore you have to pare down your material possessions. A lot of people find living on a boat to be very freeing because you're, in a way, master of your own little universe. If something fails on a boat, it's all up to you to fix it or to figure out what you need to do to make it work. There are many boats that are liveaboards that don't go anywhere, that are tied up to a dock somewhere or in a marina, and people live on them, but the boat itself doesn't go anywhere. But some boats are made for cruising, and those boats can go anywhere, usually. And that is the part of living aboard a boat that a lot of people find appealing, because you're mobile, you're not attached to the land in such a way that you can't just get up and go one day. Not having those kinds of restrictions upon your movement is very freeing for a lot of people. Okay, let's talk about the cons of living on a boat. The bad, the ugly, you know, the hard stuff. So the first thing you want to think about when living on a boat is utilities. Do you have access to water, to electricity, to Wi-Fi these days? Do you have access to a place to get rid of your toilet waste? Do you have access to a grocery store? Can you get from your marina or wherever your boat is to the land and then to a grocery store? Sometimes grocery stores are a bit of a drive or a walk or a bike ride away from your marina. So if you need to stock up on fresh goods and produce or basic kitchen things, is the grocery store nearby? And lastly, do you have access to fuel? If your boat uses diesel or gas, which it probably does, you're going to need a fuel dock, and you need to consider whether the marina you're staying at has a fuel dock that you can use, or if there's one nearby. Something else to consider when you have a boat is access to land. Now, if your boat is anchored out, you need a dinghy to go from your boat to the land, and then you need a place to tie your dinghy up. You have to be sure that you're allowed to tie your dinghy up to that spot on the shore. Once your dinghy's tied up, you have to be able to get from the waterfront to the inside of the land. So do you have to walk through someone's yard? Do you have a fence that you need to get access to, a key to open the fence? If you're in a marina, do you have access to the marina gates? There's different conditions in different places, and that's something that you need to think about. Let's not forget about insurance. Most marinas will not allow you in without insurance. So another thing to consider when you're thinking about living aboard a boat is the maintenance. Boats need a lot of maintenance. Even if you have a very small, tiny boat, it still needs to have things replaced. You know, your bilge pump could break any moment. You might need a new water pump. You might need a new pulley block. You might need ropes. All these things have an expense, and there is no boater out there who doesn't have a list of things that need fixing on their boat. Even multi-millionaire boaters have a huge list of maintenance that needs to be done on a regular basis. So that kind of maintenance either takes time, money, or hired labor. If you're very handy yourself, well then you can offset some of that cost, but you're still going to be spending money on parts, and there may be things that even you couldn't do that you need to hire out, or you need a shop, you need a welder, that kind of thing. So even brand new boats, after a year or two, they start having maintenance that needs to be done. Paint jobs, hauling out, bottom cleaning. All of these things are expenses that you don't really realize are there when you're wrapped up in the romanticism of living aboard a boat. Another thing to think about when you're living on a boat is mold. A lot of people don't talk about this, but every boat has mold. If you're on the water, it's damp and humid most of the time, whether it's cold or hot, and mold can be an issue. So don't bring anything that you want to keep in pristine condition on a boat, because it'll probably get wet at some point, it'll probably get humid at some point, it'll probably start to rust or turn green or get different colors of mold on it. So you need to wrap your belongings really well in plastic, or put everything in some kind of airtight container where it won't get the effects of humidity. And just know that there is always humidity around. I'm allergic to mold, so living on a boat where mold was something that could happen quite easily just wasn't fun. If you have a knee problem or a back problem and it's hard to move around or climb stairs, then reconsider living on a boat. And moving around on a boat, you have to go up and down and twist your body into all kinds of strange positions to get to things like the bilge, for instance. It requires a bit of flexibility and limberness in your body. So if that's a problem for you, it may be really difficult to live on a boat. Another aspect of living aboard a boat is you're always schlepping things. I mean, you bring your groceries, you've got these big bags of groceries going on your boat, and you might have to walk a long way in the marina to get to your slip, or you have to move something off the boat or onto the boat that's big, heavy, and bulky, and you need to think about how you're going to get that over your lifelines onto the dock and into a trolley or a wheelbarrow or a wagon or whatever it is that may be available at the time. Or you might have to be creative and figure out your own set of wheels to move things around. And that's something that I always found to be just a hassle. Like, why? Some people don't mind the heavy lifting and manual labor that requires, and living on a boat is you're always lifting something big and heavy from here to there. That may or may not be a concern for you. Before you go purchasing a boat to live on board for the next years of your life, first try it out. Now, there are a lot of different ways you can try living on a boat before actually purchasing a boat. A lot of places have boats that you can charter for overnight or even up to a week or more, depending on the charter. And you would be in charge of the boat, fully responsible for the boat for that time. And it's a great way to see what it's like to live on a boat for a while. And you can try out different boats. The money you spend chartering a boat is well worth it, because it's nothing compared to the money you're going to spend actually owning a boat. Another way to get on a boat and stay overnight is if you have a friend who has a boat. Ask your friend if you can stay aboard for a few days or up to a week or more. And if your friend is staying aboard with you, they might be able to give you a lot of insights and great advice on how things are done. Airbnb is a great way to get on different boats and see what style suits you. You can pick your destination either far away or close to home and see if there are any boats available for you to rent. And this is a good way to get a sense of different types of boat. And the last way to get on a boat overnight is to crew on a boat. Yeah, a quick internet search will yield a lot of websites that connect people who want to be crew with people who have boats going somewhere, and so you can be a crew member on a boat for any length of time that you want and pick your destination as well. And in this way you can meet other boating people, you can see how another person captains their boat and what they do, and you can ask them a ton of questions. And it's a great way to get a little bit of insight on what it takes to run a boat if you're cruising and that type of thing. I definitely recommend trying it out first before buying a boat and deciding to make this huge move, and you might find out that it's not for you. Or you might find out that you really love it and it was the exact right thing for you. Well, either way, I hope you found some helpful tips in this video, and if you did, give it a thumbs up, subscribe. I'll see you